Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Spiritual Transformer. I am your host, Randy Koo. Just want to start off by saying thanks to everybody who's watched my previous videos, dropped a like, or a subscribe, or a comment. So, thank you very much. Today, I'm gonna tackle a really tough topic. Today, I'm gonna talk about God. Yeah, I know the concept of God triggers a lot of people, but I really think we do need to talk about it because I think that most people, many people on earth has a kind of inaccurate misconception about God, as in maybe they don't know what God truly is. Um, Me personally, I play a lot of JRPGs, that's the Japanese role-playing games, and it's kind of like a running gag at this point that the last bosses of all these Japanese RPGs are like you're always fighting God, right? So you're literally defeating God in most of these RPGs, and in a lot of these video games, they portray like the idea of God as the last boss because they're supposed to be these all powerful beings that can exert a great deal of control over people. And that's what makes them gods. And oddly enough, that's what makes defeating them an imperative because you don't want an all powerful person who wants to instill their own order upon the people. So yeah, I think a lot of people in the world today have this kind of idea about God, the idea that there's some kind of God is a powerful being whose, I guess, task or job is to exert order over the world and create some kind of world. And I'm here to tell you that that's a misconception, a misunderstanding. God is very simple. It's a very simple concept. God is unconditional love. God is a being, a force of unconditional love. That's it. An all powerful force, all seeing, omnipresent, omniscience. Yeah, all that. But at the end of the day, God is love. Now, I know that's a lot for people to swallow. A lot of people may be hearing this for the first time, but in the spiritual community, it's quite common to acknowledge God as a force of unconditional love. But I'm here to talk about more practical things, I guess. And, well, one of the biggest question is if God is a force of unconditional love, then how do we explain what's happening with the world? There's a lot of people out there, groups out there who do all sorts of things, harm a lot of people, and they don't seem to have any sort of punishment. They entirely seem to be just getting away with it. So I think right then and there we can rule out the case of an all powerful, all controlling God because precisely because there's all these people running around doing whatever they want, maybe causing harm, maybe not, and there doesn't seem to be any justification or justice for all these actions that we see around the world from people who we perceive to be in the wrong. So I think quite clearly there is no all powerful, all controlling God, because if there was, we would kind of know. You know, lightning striking the wicked evildoers and all that. But at the exact same time, a lot of people might say, well, if we were to believe in a loving God, then why do we see all these crazy things in the world? All these people who are just doing things that perhaps are harming millions of people and they don't seem to get any comeuppance for it. Well, here's a paradox for you. It's precisely because God is all loving that we witness what we witness today. So the idea is that when God sees us, God does not see the person who makes the mistakes, say harm people or do wicked deeds. God doesn't really see that. Instead, God has a very, 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 very high perspective on humanity and the world. And what God sees when God looks down on us from above is he sees a reflection, basically. Because he sees who we truly are. And we are also beings of unconditional love. We are divine beings of love and light. We are little gods. We pretty much are gods because God made us in its own image. So I know a lot of people, including myself, have kind of forgotten how that feels. I mean, many times throughout the day, I absolutely do not feel like a divine being, but I'm trying to embody that every single day. But it's a tough battle, right? But regardless of what you or I may feel about ourselves and each other, God sees things simply. God simply sees us as who we are, which is divine beings of love and light. God sees a reflection of itself in us because we are also gods. So that is why we see all these things happen in the world today, why there's so many different people doing so many different things and there doesn't seem to be like any sort of order to it. It's because God doesn't see the wickedness in us. God only sees the light because God knows who we truly are. So let me use an analogy in this case. Suppose that you have a best friend, right? This best friend has stuck with you through thick and thin. This best friend has shown nothing but compassion, a very nice person, loves life. This friend of yours has helped you a lot. You know this person, this friend of yours, to be a good person. This is your best friend, and there's a reason for that, right? You know this friend like you know yourself almost, and you trust this friend with your life. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who have friends like this, and people who have friends like this are truly lucky. But I'm sure a lot of people can imagine friends like that, a friend who would stick with you through thick and thin. Now imagine that one day this friend of yours made a mistake, hurt some people, right? Now all of a sudden, the folks around you are saying, this person, this friend of yours, is not a good person. This friend of yours is wicked, right? But you know your friend. You know your friend like you know yourself. And you know your friend is not who the folks around you say this person is. You know this friend to be a good person. You know this friend only made a mistake and hurt others, right? So that's how God sees us. Every one of us is God's best friend. God sees us for who we are deep down inside, and deep down inside we are divine, loving souls. That's really all it is. God sees us, each and every one of us, as God's best friend. Sees us as higher beings, see our true self, see our true nature. And that's why some people seem that they can literally get away with murder with no consequence. It's as hard as it is to accept. It's because God still loves the sinners, the people who make mistakes. Because God only sees their highest self. God knows who they truly are. And so God forgives all. Now, this is hard to swallow because you might be thinking, okay, so, we are all beings of love and light, but we all make mistakes, but seriously, we all hurt people. No, so what if this person's my best friend? This person still hurt people. How do we justify that, or how do we manage that? Well, this part is a little bit tricky. So what I've been taught by various spiritual teachers is that before we even incarnate onto the earth, each of us have made soul contracts, probably more than one. And these soul contracts are simply agreements between your soul and another person's soul to do certain things in this life. Now, that believing this, you need a lot of faith to believe it. I believe it. I believe that my soul, my higher self, probably signed a lot of contracts with other people, saying that when I meet other people in life, here's what I'll do, and here's what they'll do. So why do we have these soul contracts? Is to help each other grow, right? Each one of us here is here to experience something. We may not know, or more accurately, we do not remember what it is that we're supposed to experience, but throughout life, we do have a purpose. There is something to it. And all these people that enter our lives are supposed to help us with growth. What growth is it? It could be just about anything. Maybe you wanted to come down to earth to experience something very, very specific. In order for you to experience that, somebody else has to play their part, their specific part, so that you can experience that specific things. And yes, sometimes we get incarnated on earth so we can experience pain. Why? So we can let it go, release it, so we can experience it, say and surrender it. Maybe I'll make a video on that later, but that's all I've got really for now. For today, I mean. So I don't want to go in too deep to that, but so in order for you to experience what you came down to experience, somebody else has to play a role, and their role may include causing you pain. That's their role. And again, it's you and them are the same beings of love and light. And you're just playing roles for each other, for growth, for learning. So to sum it all up, each of us made soul contracts with other people, and other people have made soul contracts with us to basically help each other grow. My soul probably signed contracts with other souls to help them grow, while a lot of other souls signed contracts with my soul to help me grow. So to go back to the analogy of the best friend. So you know your best friend has made a mistake. You know who your best friend is. You know your best friend is not their mistake. You know your best friend is much, 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 much higher than the mistake that they made. So what do? You decide to help your best friend. You decide to help your best friend maybe move on from the mistake, correct the mistake, let go of the mistake, atone for the mistake, whatever your friend wants, right? Maybe to restore your friend to who he or she used to be. So you decide to help your friend. And in order to do that, you're going to have to get up close to your friend, right? You might have to confront them. You might have to get in their way. You might have to intervene. You want to help. And there's no way to help without getting into the line of fire. And in order to help, yes, you may end up getting hurt. And I've given this a lot of thought, and I think that might explain why there's so much hurt in this world, because we're all just trying to help each other see ourselves as our higher selves, and we're all getting into each other's way. We're all being hurt, we're all doing the hurting, and we're all just doing this to help each other grow. We're all doing this to be each other's best friend and help each other reach our own higher beings. And sometimes that may involve being hurt, doing the hurting, getting hurt. And yeah, just talking about this is pretty tough for me, because this is a tough topic, and I don't know what to say. I believe this is true. It's from our earthly perspective, it's very, very hard to see and very, very hard to accept. But I think as each of us grow on our spiritual journey, we may end up at a higher perspective ourselves and be able to see. I mean, sometimes that happens already. You know, a lot of people who've been through pain and suffering, they look back in their lives and you go, wow, that time when I was hurt and suffering was the best thing that ever happened to me because I managed to figure things out, grow, be a better person. It happens. So I think that sums it up. Each of us is just trying to help each of us become our higher selves, and we may end up getting hurt doing so. And God, all's right with the world, right? That's what God thinks, because God just sees us as the perfect beings that we are on a soul level. And God loves every one of us unconditionally, so never judges, never punishes, because we're all okay. We're all helping each other. And I think that's, at the end of the day, I think that's really beautiful. So yeah, that's all I got for this time. It's pretty heady, but if you like this topic, if you like my message, drop a like, comment, hit that subscribe button, do as you will. So, you have been watching the Spiritual Transformer channel. My name is Randy Koo, and I'll see you next time. Bye.